How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. So I am very excited to interview you. I've been reading uh, Shadow of the Dragon, book one. And honestly, at this moment, I can't think of the title of that book. What is the title of that
It's
book?
a foundation of courage.
Yes, because of, I'm not going to say what because I'm doing the first half spoiler free. So,
Yeah. Um, I think I had a different title once, and I told my cover artist the wrong title, and then I liked the wrong title better.
oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I think it was Foundation to Strength originally,
Hmm.
but I like Foundation to Courage. When I saw it on the cover, I was like, wait, that's not the right one, but I'm glad it's there.
But I like that. Yeah.
I like it too. Yeah, so maybe it was my subconscious going like, hey, this is a better title.
Right. Oh, that's too funny. Yeah, I'm just going to do introduction. So I am Sarah Jessica Curry. I go by Jessica. I am with Write Me Poetry Publishing. I am in Mississippi. From where do you hail, sir?
I am in Washington State, so
Okay,
I'm
you're cold.
Pacific Northwest. No, I'm on the coast, so it's actually very we have a
Okay.
very mild climate. It doesn't usually we get like a snow year. Although we're in a La Nina year, so we have a colder winter right now, but it's like one cold winter, three mild winters is how it works here on the
Okay.
west in the Pacific Northwest, yeah.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Do you have a lot of opportunity, like places in your town or places in your area that are good to go and maybe write, or I don't know, do you have good bookstores? What is it like around your area?
Um well, the only bookstore around me is the Barnes and Noble. That's really all we have out here.
Yeah.
There used to be more, but like they all went out of business.
Oh
You know,
no.
back
Yeah, we
yeah,
had a
back in 2010 when Borders went, yeah, but there's no real like small indie ones near me. Just Barnes and Noble.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we had a Books a Million down here that shut down, and that broke my heart. Because I remember that was where we went as high schoolers. I was
Yeah,
the Ravenclaw, crew.
yeah. There's a Walden's Books in the South Hill Mall where I grew up, which is South Hill Zone. It's by Tacoma, if you know where that is. But it was great. I went there when I was a kid. I used to go there with my allowance money in like junior high and high school, and I was always, browsing the fantasy aisle looking for books to buy. And
Oh yeah.
they got bought by Borders. The Borders went out of business, so they're gone.
Wow. And I sadly never I was never able to go to Borders. I We never had that here, but we had our Books a Million, we had our Barnes and Noble. I think that's about it. And then those
That's about
bookstores
it.
that have the thrift bookstores, those are a lot of fun,
Yeah,
especially when
yeah,
they let you bring your own.
yeah. There's a number of used bookstores in the area. I don't know if any of them are how they survived COVID. I haven't gone much places in the last 2 years.
Sure.
Um, but there were some really good used bookstores that were in the area that me and my friends used to go to when we were bored. We'd just go and see what we'd find.
Yeah. We used to have like a book exchange, kind of like a game exchange. And you could bring your book, books that you had and trade them in. And then yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah.
So speaking of what do you do? What does a day in your life look like as a writer?
Well, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, and I like to start writing pretty much right off the bat. And then so I do like about hour blocks of writing, then I take a break, breakfast or exercise. In fact, I just got a treadmill desk, so I've been using that in the morning.
Oh,
About
that's
20
neat.
minutes of walking while writing. Yeah, I can write at about the same pace and then get some exercise that I badly
Yeah,
need.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it cost 1,600, but it's so far been worth it. So
Right, right. Oh, that's pretty cool. You can put it on your taxes for your writing company. Say this,
I'm
it's important
I
to my.
might I might.
So I did have a question. So I'm wondering,
Sure.
was there ever a person in your life that like turned your tide as an author or turned you toward writing at all?
Um, no one in my life. It was just I read all these really great fantasy books And I just wanted to write my own sort of stories like that. I was inspired by people like Tolkien, David Eddings, Robert Jordan, Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, Piers Anthony, uh, Terry Brooks, Frank Herbert. I'm missing Anne McCaffrey. Yeah. So those are kind of the stuff I read like in junior high, those books. And those are the ones that kind of spurred me to start kind of writing in high school.
That's neat. What was the first thing that you published?
The first thing I published was a short story called The Assassin's Remorse. Published
Ooh.
that back, I think, in 2015. And it was about an assassin that killed a woman, and sort of like in her final moments, she said, "I forgive you," and it destroyed him. And
Oh,
he
wow.
it and he just like it drove him into sort of like into alcoholism, and then he went to go kill her husband who had paid him to kill her in the first place,
Oh,
and he
wow.
found himself unable to kill him in those last moments as he kind of finally understands this woman, and because he hesitates in that place, the husband actually killed him, and so that's how
Oh
the
my
story
goodness.
ended.
How powerful.
Yeah, but I created this little magic system using jewels, where like the jewels had different properties, and they used them as sort of like magical technology, and
Hmm.
everyone really liked the magic system. And now I have 13 novels written in this sort of world that uses this magic system, all
So
because people
neat.
were like just really, they thought the magic system was really great, and it was, just for like a 7,000 word story, it was kind of a shame to let it go to waste. And so I started developing the world and creating more stories and more cultures. And so yeah, so my second two series that I publish are from are spun off of the Assassin's Remorse.
Okay. I feel like your pool of creativity for world building and character building is just vast. And I'm glad that you're tapping into it and you're just letting it flow. Um, I know that for me, no spoilers, but for Foundation of Courage, reading the story gave me so much information about the world before I ever even looked at the glossary. And that's unique for me. I think that a lot of times I'll read through a book and I kind of almost understand their, like the races or the groups of people, the creatures, but it's like until I get to the glossary, then I'm like, oh, that's what that was. But with your story, it's like it's so interwoven and it's just thrown in conversations and I got it. Like I understood it as if I was walking alongside them and listening to the conversation and learning what my world was about, like from a toddler up, like we would naturally. And I just think that's fascinating and I love that.
Yeah, it's I try to not info dump, and I try to keep like to find organic ways to introduce the important parts of the world building. And and just pepper in just some flavor stuff that's just sort of in the world that they just see and notice, and trying to make it come alive in the reader's imagination.
Yeah, absolutely. Just putting it, just interweaving it just is amazing to me to see how that works. So I did have a question.
Sure.
I interviewed George Norman Lippert in a previous interview, and one of the books I'm reading by him is called The River House. And an idea that he kind of throws into that story is the foreman versus the muse. So, like in your head, when you're being creative, do you feel like you're following more of like a foreman or more of a muse setting there?
I'm more of a foreman. Um, Not to say that the muse or the subconscious, as how I think about it, hasn't influenced me, or hasn't like I find that like my subconscious will make the connections that I didn't realize I had put into my story. So I'll be writing and I'll realize that what I'm writing connects back to something I'd written already. And then I'm like, and it just sort of builds on it. I would say, so you've read the books, you know who Tasha Ruin is,
Mhm.
and her backstory really kind of melted into the theme of the story without me even realizing it. Like I had given her a backstory that was that really resonated kind of with what she was currently doing, and in a way I didn't plan, but like the moment I realized it, it really um, just sort of helped to build the sort of the themes of the entire series and drive her character arc even better than I had planned, because it really gave her some internal conflict as she tries um, to reconcile with what she's doing with her past and how she sees and how it affected her. So yeah, so it was a very it was definitely my subconscious at work. I didn't plan that, but it
Right.
very much um, makes the story better.
I love that. I love that. And I think it's definitely a dynamic. Like you have a little bit of subconscious, a little bit of planning. Um, and I know that uh, in my small experience writing, I guess mine would be more of a realistic fiction kind of thing. But um, I've noticed that I feel like someone is standing over my shoulder telling me, this is my story, write it down. And I like to hear, when other writers say that it's kind of it's an in between. Like I have a plan, but the characters sometimes kind of twist the plan up as I almost meet them, as I start to realize, hmm, okay, I get
Yeah,
it. I see where you came from, kind of thing.
yeah, definitely. As I write my characters, I peel back more layers of them that I didn't know they had as I write them, and I discover more about them. So it's very much I discover the characters as I write the plot,
I love that.
and then they affect the plot a lot. But yeah,
And
that's definitely how it works. Yeah.
yeah, it's like I think that just imagining that I write more poetry than anything, and so a lot of mine comes out in spurts. Like it's really short. It doesn't have to connect. It doesn't have to start and end, and everything has to intertwine. And so the idea of building an entire world and having a character that, the end of their story flows well with the beginning of it, and it all works together, that's so overwhelming to me. I cannot imagine trying to plan that out, but it sounds like you have a pretty good, a good flow with, and a good acceptance of, I'm going to start it, I'm going to have a plan, a sketch, but I'm going to let it flow as it comes.
Yeah, I'm kind of when I started Shadow of the Dragon, which ended up being 12 books, I was putting a lot of faith that I would get myself to an ending, because there was an idea of like, I know what the bad guys' goals are, I know what the good guys' eventual goals will be, but there was a lot of logistics and stuff I didn't know. And so I just kind of had to trust that I would figure it out as I wrote and
Okay.
discover it along the way, because there are like points in the story where I had a hard time just seeing past what would happen. And that's generally how I write. I tend not to be able to really see the end of a series when I start it. Even when I've written series where I'm like, this series will be 3 books, and even
Mhm.
then I'm not quite seeing the ending, but I just feel like 3 books is what I need to tell the story I want, or 5 books, or yeah.
Right, you kind of have an idea and then it goes as it goes, huh? One question that I had was, in general, not necessarily for Foundation of Courage, but just in general when you're writing, what do you feel like is your ultimate goal for your readers? Like, are you wanting to just give them a fun story to read? Do you want to send some kind of message, evoke some kind of emotion? What are you looking for your readers?
I am looking to just tell them a story that I hope they'll enjoy with characters they'll love. I don't like there's messages in my writing,
Yeah,
but I don't want to tell a message. I definitely don't like that in my own, my own, media I consume. I don't want to be lectured. It's cool
right.
if you have like a message or a point or whatever, but like it needs to be about the story and the characters, and that's how I see things, and that's how I like to
That's
read, and that's how I like to write.
right. And what I love about that is kind of like with, you know, Harry Potter became a leader, but it was because he didn't want to be a leader. That was just what he did naturally. And I feel like that's with your writing, that's what I see. Like you're not setting out to say, okay, when my readers finish this book, I want to make sure they understand this truth in my, my idea of this. It's just that message is going to come out just like your characters come out slowly, onion peeling layers. The message is going to be there too, just kind of an underlying subliminal that you may not even realize is there. And I think
Yeah,
that's very powerful.
that's definitely part of it. Like I try to be honest. I don't know. I try to be honest with my characters too. Like I have characters that believe things I don't, but I don't want to. I want to believe that they believe them. Like to put to write them so that they believe it. So I'm honest with their story. And so yeah. So like I said, I'm not really trying to message. I'm just trying to tell stories that I feel like with human characters.
Hmm. So I really enjoy so far. I've read Foundation of Courage. I'm trying really hard to go all the way 30 minutes without spoilers, and it's really hard. But I guess one thing that comes to mind is how you have, you build. Okay, here's my question. What elements do you feel like you have to put together? Like I see, you have the kind of the spiritual part as far as like what the people or the different groups, their belief system or like their tradition, that, and then you have the differentiation between what the characters look like, the different races look like. You have the map. What are some of the elements that you feel like you have to kind of lay out before the story starts or before you start writing it?
Well, I have to have the map. I very much need a map when I'm doing fantasy. I like making them, so that's fun.
I love maps.
Uh, and I need to have very basic ideas for the cultures and the races and sort of, so I have like an idea of like who the different races are, their personalities, very like they're stereotyped almost, right? Because obviously we stereotype broad groups all the time. So like the individuals, they'll be characters, but maybe I'll have the people themselves stereotyped. So and that way I like to do like broad world building or shallow world building for most of the world and really deep world building where it matters. And
Okay.
so yeah, so I could drop names and stuff and do references to things far away, but often those little references about all the world building that's on them, there's usually just names on the map because I don't plan for the story to ever go there. But
Right.
the world needs to feel big, and there needs to be the field like trade and commerce, and so yeah. So in the religion, I always want to have the religions established. I want a very simplistic religion because I wanted there to be sort of one dominant faith that everyone follows, and then we have the group that is challenging that faith,
Sure.
the apostasy. Whereas other worlds will have like lots of different faiths or different ways of seeing things. It just depends on how the story is and how the culture is, you know.
Right, right. And I like that because it's reminiscent of the natural world. We tend to travel in groups, we tend to believe in groups, we tend to challenge each other and question our own, beliefs and what we're told, eventually. Some of us question, some of us don't. But I think that ultimately is what builds our story is when we do ask ourselves questions that we may not have been raised to ask. Once we get the courage up to ask them, I feel like that's when our story really begins. So, have you ever run across a character that was particularly difficult to develop or challenging?
Something to develop. I don't think so. Not yet. Like
Not
I've
yet.
done a lot of very different characters, noble, terrible, in between, cowards. I don't know. I just
Particularly fun to develop, maybe?
yeah, there's definitely fun characters. Uh like I don't know, I tend to find like this is probably a little weakness on my, but it seems to be like the secondary female character tends to be usually a fun or peppy character. Not
Yeah.
always, but I tend to find that for some reason. Like Zai in The Storm Below. She's very much cheerful and peppy. I mean, there's a reason there's like more shade to that. And then I have sort of Actually, no, she's Zori. Zai is from this series. I got them a little mixed up. Sorry. Zai is a little different, but she's also kind of this, she's very confident. She doesn't appear till book two, but she can see the future, like
Okay.
5 seconds into the future if she wants. So she's very carefree
Hmm.
because she knows that she's not going to break her neck when she does something because she's already seen that she's done it
Oh,
successfully.
interesting.
So
Okay.
she kind of has a very an exuberant, yeah. So it makes her very just, what's caution when you can see the future and know you're not going to get
Reckless.
hurt, right? And so it makes her reckless, makes her playful. Um, so she's very much fun to write and a headache because she can see the future, and I always have to remember, like, why don't I have Zai seeing the future to solve problems? And so she solves problems in fun ways, and she can create problems because there's ways to abuse. There's ways for me to use her powers as a pitfall too. Uh, I definitely
Yeah,
needed
and
that.
that I can imagine that would be tricky to write too, because you have to make sure she doesn't have particular problems because well, she wouldn't have that problem because she can see into the future. So you have to think on that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
know
mean, she works like how Yuden works with his foundation power because she's just the revelation, so she's just a different type of sorcerer. So like the farther she sees, the less she can see, the less time she can see, and she has to replenish power, so she can like just run out of her vision and stuff like that. So yeah,
I'm trying to remember now. Revelation is the combination of illumination and
breath,
breath.
breath,
And what?
and breath, I believe.
Oh, I got it
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah, we're at 29 and a half minutes, so I'm all over some spoilers now. So uh first of all, okay, Foundation of Courage. Before we go into that, where can we get information about your books? Where do you sell? Do you have a website? That kind of thing.
Yeah, so you can find my books on Amazon under JMD Reid, and that's REID. And you can also find I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook group called Fantastic Worlds of the Imagination, and I have a website that's jmd-read.com. Although I'm very bad at maintaining it.
I'm bad at maintaining mine too. I don't
Mostly a
even get mine
blog.
out right now because I'm so behind.
Yeah, that's it. I also like tweet stuff on Twitter at JMD Reid. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, good deal. Well, for those who do not want to get any spoilers, this is the end of the section that is non-spoiler, and I'm about to jump into Foundation of Courage. Complete spoiler alert.